Are you familiar with the concept women are from Venus, men are from Mars?
Yes.
This whole like meaning men and women have different emotional requirements?
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, do you believe the inability to set the differences on both part is playing a huge, part in why so many relationships are falling apart?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I believe that we're in a society where more and more, again, they're trying to create this equality thing. They're trying to blur the lines between man and woman and what our energy is and what that means as far as our traits and the things that the roles that we live in. And we're not honoring the differences. And when we don't honor and respect and understand the differences, we create more conflict. And if we would just be real with each other about what those things are, we can get into better alignment with each other and create more harmony.
got you. And so, with that being said, it kind of goes back to that divine masculine and divine
Exactly.
feminine
Exactly.
conversation. Got you.
And I think just even in general, just the biological differences between men and women.
Gotcha.
Like there's certain things we can't deny. For example, which again it goes back to the yin and yang. We all have testosterone and estrogen.
Yeah.
Man and woman. We all have masculine and feminine energy. It's just one is the more dominant energy for or dominant hormone for one is the more dominant hormone for the other. And we have to understand that those things dictate certain aspects about us as human beings.
Gotcha.
That's just reality. If you take a woman and you start giving her testosterone injections, she's gonna get more aggressive. She's gonna be more. She's gonna get hornier. She's gonna have a higher libido. You know what I'm saying? Like things are. She's gonna feel the difference. You start injecting a man with estrogen, he will get more emotional. Like people don't understand. It's literally in the literature. He will become more emotional. He will become more sensitive. Like these things happen on a biological level. So if we can't respect that, we're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I do think that part of what it's there's a ideology there's people who are trying to change that narrative, but I also think that the food, the environment, all these things are also throwing things off. So basically, with men's testosterone dropping so low, we're seeing less of that difference that we used to see. So now we see more emotional, mostly driven men in today's world than we ever did before.
Which is the most dangerous kind of man.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the boy who walks into the school and shoots up the school. That's the man who beats his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the most dangerous type of man. And unfortunately, a lot of trauma bonding and unhealthy toxic relationships are based on the fact that, sometimes a man or a woman wants somebody who's overly emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
got you.
It causes a lot of problems.
Got you. Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Now the ladies want to know. Ladies want to know you now. And you know how I am. I'm super private.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
super private, and you are as well. But I would not be doing the audience a service.
Now is that? That was for the audience, right? Okay.
Yeah, so, question: have you ever been in love or had your heart broken?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So I remember my first experience. It was like end of high school, transitioning out of high school, and it was a girl. Met her at that time. We were like best friends.
Yeah.
And really, really liked her. You know what I'm saying? And so, she was saying she didn't have interest like that. But it was like the behaviors was not consistent with what she was saying.
Gotcha.
So anyways, still life goes on. We're still friends. There's still this conflict. And then one day she tells me about some dude who she met down the street who's like following her, being all crazy, right? And I'm like, okay. And she's like, yeah, he's crazy. I'm not messing with him. All right, cool. 2 weeks later, they're in a relationship. And then eventually she ends up marrying this dude. All right.
Wow.
So that was my first, and I remember being so heartbroken, and I was like, that turned me into a savage though.
Okay.
Because at that point I was like, F the world.
Yeah.
I don't care how anybody feels. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that's it. Crazy thing is, many years after that, she hit me up. She divorced that guy. She's moved on to another relationship. I don't know what's going on now, but she told me she was just scared.
Yeah.
That she did have feelings. She didn't want to lose me she didn't want to take the chance of losing me as a friend. So she figured, just keeping as friendship was the safest way to have me in her life, basically.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Which happens to a lot of people, believe it or not.
Both men and women.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. But, it was just unfortunate. And I think it was more frustrating at that time for me before she had those confessions or whatever, because it was like, you told me this dude crazy and this is and then it was a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It was a toxic marriage. So it was like, yo, and that's not because of that story, but that's an example of how so many people see the red flags from day one and just ignore them or rationalize past them or whatever. And then the whole thing blows up and you're like, I don't know what happened. No, it was always there.
Gotcha.
You saw he was crazy from day one.
Okay, gotcha.
But it is what it is. But yeah, so that was my experience.
Okay. And so you became a savage after that. But how does you go from a savage to being this love guru that you are today?
God, man. God eventually slapped me upside the head. I will say, I think the savage part was going down a little bit after that, because there was at one point in my life where my homeboy was like, yo, you cold-hearted.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, is it that bad? And I had the mentality of, especially because I was brutally honest. I was very blunt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
I'm a big fan of being honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, I've learned it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn how to be better with my delivery. But yeah, I think eventually the real strong transition out of it was the spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And was going through a lot of spiritual occurrences and different things that kind of opened my eyes to God and to, all this deeper revelation. And that's what kind of pulled me out of that kind of mode.
Okay.
So at least to the point where I had more compassion. I had more consideration, and I healed. I was able to heal. And that was the most important thing.
Yeah. And so you heal, and then you wake up one day and say, I'm going to write 10,000 books and explain to women,
man,
how to love, and how to men how to love as well too. Is that what happened?
Nah.
Okay. What happened?
So funny enough, when I was in the savage period of my life, I used to joke about writing a book for men on how to have sex with women. Right?
Okay.
I used to always joke about it. I was like, yo, I can break this whole thing down so easy.
Right.
But I never took it serious because I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I didn't even read books like that. Yeah, I wasn't a writer. And so what happened was, through the spiritual journey, it's a long story, but I ended up moving from Miami to Georgia, being surrounded by married couples. They were all coming to me for advice. So it was this combination of different events, going through a spiritual journey. So God told me to move to Georgia, surrounded by these married couples looking for advice, and then feeling God tell me, okay, it's time to write a book. But I can't write a book about how to have sex with a woman, but I noticed all the married men were complaining about a lack of sex.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so I'll make it how to get a woman to have sex with you if you're her husband. So I'll help the husbands get more sex. You know what I'm saying? And so it started with that book. And even then, I did not know where this would go. I did not know where this was taking me. I didn't understand what God was doing. All I knew is at that time, he said, write this book.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm just going to write it and see what happens. And then from there, I was like, all right, God, what's the next step? And then it was create this blog. And I never wanted to create no blog. Again, I didn't see myself as a writer.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? But it was just do it. And I was just big on, all right, I'm just going to do whatever I feel God's telling me to do.
Gotcha.
And I just kept following the steps. And before you know it, here I am now.
Stephan Speaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because, when we first met, I remember you telling me you were celibate.
Yeah.
And I think at that point it had been like 2 years or something like that.
I can't remember. It was a minute.
And every day, like, I'm confused because I'm like, you still celibate? Every day we go to work out, I'm like, yo, what about today? And so, kudos to you, man. You have a level of discipline when it comes to that is unmatched by most men that I know.
I honestly feel like I was just lucky. Like, I don't know. Because I feel like I'm still a very highly sexual person.
Yeah.
And even through those times where I've been abstinent, it was always there. I don't know how I made it happen. I don't know how I got through. I can only say God because I don't know. It was I don't know.
I think you should write a book about that for both men and women.
For women, it's easier though.
Yeah, of course.
It's easier. I know
Of
some
course.
may not like hearing that, but it goes back to the realities of our differences.
Yeah.
It's easier for men. And I think the thing is though, what people have to understand when it comes to having certain disciplines. I'm a believer now that a lot of discipline is circumstantial.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like if you're a man and you're not having any options available to you, you don't have access to much women, then being disciplined is going to be a lot easier.
Which
Plain and
is why
simple.
33% of men are actually sexless.
Exactly. Whereas if you are constantly around it, there's constantly opportunities, it's a completely different level of discipline. And I think that's the reason when people heard about me being abstinent, they looked at it like, oh my gosh, how are you doing this? Because at that time in my life, it's like, oh, we know you can get whatever. And you over here controlling that aspect, and yeah, that definitely makes a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So the ladies also wanted me to ask, why the hell aren't you married, bro?
My own boy gonna ask me this question.
Not me. I'm asking for a friend.
I get you.
Because, like, everywhere I go, like, friends, family, like, yo, is he single? Like, and then I go, ask him. That's none of my damn business. But, tell the people.
Yeah. So there's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to try to run through them fast.
Okay.
Layer number one is just God's timing.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that I have to wait for when God says this is it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I meet a lot of great, amazing women, and I may enjoy them, I may get along with them, but that doesn't mean we are meant to be together.
Yeah.
And I think from an even deeper spiritual perspective, people don't understand that there are things going on behind the scenes that you can't see. And this is why you lean on God, because he sees it all.